What's up, guys? Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the BlockHash podcast. Today, have another exciting guest, Pablo Castillo, CEO and CTO with Camino Network, here to talk about travel. Going to be an interesting topic today. Pablo, welcome to the show, man. Pleasure to have you on. How's it going?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
To kick it off, I'm sure people would love to learn a little bit more about yourself and maybe how your journey kind of led you down this rabbit hole into the Web3 world that we all live and breathe. So what's your background, man? What's your story?
Good. So I've always worked in the travel industry, actually. So my first job was to sell trips, really for travel agencies, so brick and mortar travel agencies. Then internet came along, found that quite interesting in early 2000s. So switched to e-commerce, internet, and then to project management across Europe, for working for different companies. And my first touch with Web3 and blockchain was actually in 2016 when I was CIO of a larger tour operator group here in Switzerland. And basically, the part of my job was always to look at innovation and new startups. And there was one startup who made some noise in the travel industry at a point in time called Winding Tree, who came up with the idea of building a decentralized marketplace for travel. So killing all the intermediates, more or less. So you only need the customer and the suppliers. And us being an intermediate was like, okay, is this dangerous for us? So I need to understand that. So I invited those guys over. And it was kind of a funny meeting. I most probably will never forget because I really most probably felt like my father when I tried to explain him the internet. There were two young guys, complete euphoric, coming over, explaining me about ICO, about token, about blockchain technology, what it can do for travel. And I was sitting there like, I don't understand the world. Really. That was my first touch point, but it intrigued me, especially because they were so enthusiastic about it. And also, I had heard at that point in time about blockchain technology, but never understood it correctly. So I asked one of my developers in my team to say, hey, till Friday, you need to show me how blockchain works. I need to understand this. And that's how I got intrigued about it. And then a few years fast forward later, I left my job and traveling, and I got a call during that trip to if I wanted to join Chain for Travel, which, as the name implies, has built a blockchain for the travel industry. And the reason I left the industry was a little bit because I was fed up with the lack of innovation and couldn't see myself doing the same stuff I've been doing the last 25 years over and over again. So, that's why I joined actually Chain for Travel, because instead of complaining about the problems in our industry, why not try to solve it? So that's a little bit about me and my background.
So what can you tell me about Camino Network? What is your guys' kind of core mission? Like, what are you guys kind of after trying to solve?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, actually, what we try to do is to bring travel into Web3 and Web3 into travel. There are two parts of our mission. On the one hand side is to improve today's very legacy-based system landscape in travel. So that's why we have created Camino, which is an industry-focused layer on blockchain, run and operated by industry members. So we have more than 100 validators, all from the travel industry, like Lufthansa, TUI, Der Touristik, different hotel chains, and so on. And the other part is actually more important, is to prepare the industry of what's to come. I mean, our thesis is, hey, digital wallets are already here. They will become more and more important. Digital identity will definitely have a huge impact in the way people travel. I mean, think about yourself on your last trip when you had to, how many times you had to prove that you are you and that you have a booking. So this is the second part. And then, of course, digital money, not only talking about crypto, but especially about payment solutions, stable coins, CBDC. And that's where we see a huge benefit for the travel industry because, I mean, payment is one of the larger pain points, especially looking at the high payment cost. Average payment cost in travel is 3 to 5%. And we have like 24 billions of fraud and chargebacks every year because we're still using credit cards. And this with blockchain means can definitely be reduced. And what a lot of people don't know is that travel in general, I mean, it's the second largest industry on this planet. Basically, every 10th bucks that is spent somewhere goes into travel, but it's a very low margin business. So we have an average margin of 1% in the industry, and you have 3% payment cost. So by only using already payments over the blockchain, you can basically double your EBIT as a travel company. So this is something that especially the CFOs grasp quite fast.
Very nice, man. Yeah, the travel industry has a lot of issues in it, like everything from chargebacks, like you're mentioning, to double bookings, to payment issues. Like it's definitely an industry ripe for some change. How are you guys, directly applying Web3 to kind of start solving these solutions with Camino? Can you give us some like examples of how you guys implement that into your infrastructure?
So the first thing, I mean, we as Chain for Travel, we are like the development arm of the Camino Network Foundation. So we don't build applications. What we've built is the infrastructure, so the backbone, as we call it, which is Camino. It's technically speaking a fork of Avalanche, so it's an EVM compatible chain. And the second layer we have built is what we call the Camino Messenger, because we found out that blockchain technology today still has some, I would say, limitation when it comes to the amount of transactions you can process and so on. So that's why we built a decentralized messaging application like Telegram, more or less, which uses encryption. Because also another topic we found out which doesn't go well with today's blockchains, because blockchain have done a really, really good job on the privacy part. But as we are onboarding more and more institutions and they don't want to show their margins, their bookings, their detailed numbers. So we needed to have another kind of layer there. So those are the two topics we provide. What we do is a lot of education in the travel space. So we contact different kind of companies. Since start, we have been talking with more than 2,500 travel-related companies worldwide and explain them what you can do with Web3, right? And some of those companies have completely embraced it, like Lufthansa, who is now doing payments on the blockchain. They're using the messenger as well for tokenization or as a booking distribution. They're tokenizing sustainable airline fuel, for instance, as well on the chain, and so on. So the areas we are mainly focused currently is sourcing and distribution. Definitely payments. It's a huge pain point and need in travel. And then there are a few other more practical things like NFT ticketing, right? I mean, we are working with companies like Visitor app, which is an event and ticket organization platform. It's a complete Web2 experience. So customer doesn't have to have a wallet. He doesn't have to have crypto. He buys a ticket. And what happens is actually those tickets are created as NFTs on the blockchain, which has several advantages. On the one hand side, you can then be sure that there is no ticket fraud. I mean, alone in the US, the annual ticket fraud is something around 4 billion a year. It's massive.
It's incredible, yeah.
Because those guys standing in front of the stadium saying, hey, I have still 10 tickets left. And then you buy them and queue and you find out, oh no, those tickets were actually false copies. So this cannot happen with blockchain. And it opens up as well a lot of new business opportunities, because you may remember during Corona, all the travel businesses were super flexible when it came to cancellation fees, right? Because they wanted to have the customer and they were looking for income. And now after Corona, it has shifted. So they are going back to their more traditional model where they say, okay, there are two types of rates. One is refundable rate, a lot of flexibility, but more expensive. And then there's the other rate, which is a non-refundable rate. So the moment you want to change or cancel, you have 100% cost. You have to cater yourself. And now what we see is that this technology can give them something in between. We call it retradable rate, where you, for instance, you make a flight booking or you make a hotel booking, and then out of some reason you cannot travel, right? But you could resell that to somebody else who wants to travel. This works especially well with tickets because you have usually more buyers or more demand than offering. But it's also working with flight tickets. I mean, there are companies like TravelX in South America who are providing technology to different kind of airlines who basically now mint all the bookings as NFTs and allow them also to be transferred to others. So kind of the OpenSea model, where you then as a hotel not only, or a flight provider or any kind of travel supply, not only basically secure your income, but you can also earn money out of every transaction being made in the network when this ticket is being resold.
Very nice. Can you tell me a bit more about the Camino Messenger? You mentioned that a little bit earlier. What impact does it have on efficiency in the travel industry? Maybe for those suppliers and those buyers, B2B sales, reducing distribution costs. What does some of those details kind of look like?
So in general, what you need to know is that travel is super fragmented. I mean, it's a decentralized industry as well. And the problem is we don't have any data standards. So, I mean, you may know that JFK stands for New York Airport. Those are the only standards we have, more or less the airport codes. The rest, everybody's running their own technology stack, their own API stack. Even if you talk to two hotel chains, complete different systems. And this is a huge pain point, actually, because also when I was in charge of hotel plans IT, there basically we had almost 800 APIs to maintain. So every API you connect in travel, usually rule of thumb is like 30 days, 30 man days effort, testing, development, and stuff like that. So if you calculate the man day with $1,000, then you will have like 30K, 50K, depending on the complexity of the API. times 800. So that's a lot of cost. Then the other problem is all those APIs are evolving, constantly changing. So part of my workforce were actually only working on APIs without bringing any kind of additional business value, right? So the connectivity is a big pain point. And what we saw actually by using basically changing the way we think about connectivity. We said, hey, why is it not so easy to connect a travel company like to use Tinder or to write the WhatsApp to somebody? So we changed that model a little bit to make it much more easier. And what we say usually is you can connect once to our network, which is a decentralized network, also run by the decentralized participants. And with the same data standard, you can talk with different participants. So with one flight API standard, you can actually talk with all the airlines connected to that. You can, in the same system, you can also talk to hotel chains, to car rentals, to insurance, but also to service providers. So part of easing a little bit the onboarding process and the connectivity, what we really like about the messenger and blockchain in general, it's agnostic. I mean, most of the travel solutions today, they're very focused on certain verticals like the GDSs, so the global distribution systems like Travelport and Amadeus. They're really good. Since 40 years, they're solving flight connectivity, hotel connectivity, and car connectivity. That's it. All the other products are not present there. And here, what we can do together with our community is to develop standards. And that's basically what we've been doing now for a year. And the Messenger is now live, and the first pilots are on the way. And definitely receiving as well on the economic side of it. So on the cost level for distribution, but also sourcing, very, very good feedback, because else companies like Lufthansa would not venture going down that route as well, because they really made benchmarks about seeing the different kind of cost involved with their distribution channels, and they see that it's a very, very attractive alternative to the distribution channels they have today.
Absolutely. Are you guys mostly targeting airlines and hotels or other aspects of the travel industry as well? Because I know that some of these things play in as a factor for things like venues for concerts or for conferences and like other extracurriculars, cruises, for example. Are those other areas that you guys are tapping into potentially?
Absolutely. So today we in Europe, we are based in Europe, and most of our network is currently from Europe. Although we have validators on all the different continents, most are from airline industry, hotel industry, local destination management offices. So those are usually companies in, let's say, in Spain, who then organizes everything on spot for the tour operators. We work as well with OTAs. OTAs are online travel agencies like the Expedias of this world. Invia is one big one. Car rental companies as well. Cruise is definitely something we are going to develop in 2025. What we also have in our networks are companies like insurance companies, also novel kind of insurances. So this kind of cancel for any reason insurances, which then goes into your wallet. We work as well with ground operation handlers. So we have one start, for instance, providing technology based on our chain for airports, for ground handling, so that everybody has access to the same data. And I would say the use cases that are being developed are as diverse as our partnerships. Our vision really is that Camino can become a backbone for all, which is travel product, but also travel service related.
Awesome. And I also noticed that you guys have in the Camino ecosystem a CAM token. Can you highlight what the utility of that is in particular and how that kind of functions within Camino's ecosystem?
So the Camino token is the native token of our layer one blockchain of the Camino network. And it has two kind of utilities. So on one side, on the B2B side, it is used for paying the transaction fees as well. All the validators in our network need, of course, a stake to run a validator. What's a bit special about our network is each company needs to undergo KYB and has exactly the same stake. So it's 100,000 Caminos, meaning everybody has one vote and also the same transaction power within the network. Of course, you also need Caminos for being able to vote, but those are the functionalities on the B2B side. On the B2C side, we have companies like Sleep.io already today offering some fringe benefits to Camino holders. So on the one hand side, you can pay for travel-related services with Caminos, or you can also, by only holding one Camino in your wallet, you already get discounts. And this is a part, so more like a loyalty scheme, which definitely we will put more emphasis on going forward in partnerships. We are also in contact with some mileage programs who then also offer, basically you can trade Caminos to Mile Point and vice versa. and swapping those points as well.
Do you guys have any specific examples that maybe you can highlight as some successful real world use cases, whether it's with people actually taking advantage of Camino Network, or maybe it's some suppliers that you've worked with or other companies? What can you kind of highlight to paint some pictures of how it's worked so far?
So our first use case that went live on Camino was Sleep.io, which is a Web3 OTA, very much focused. It's like a decentralized booking.com where you can pay with more than 250 cryptocurrencies. They also use AI. So the main idea of them is also when a wallet is connected to their front end, that they personalize the travel offers based on what's in your wallet today, right? Because, I mean, you know, this problem of you go on booking.com, you enter like Medellin, and you have 1,000 different hotel offers. It's not personalized for you. So I think that's a huge added benefit. Then we have Lufthansa Group working on different kind of projects. So those are three projects I already mentioned. So tokenization of sustainable airline fuel. We have as well the booking over the messenger, and now with the collaboration of Finmont, which is also a payment and wallet provider, they are going to use blockchain as settlement as well, using stable coins. We have different kind of partnerships as well in the network, like Carbify. Carbify is a startup from the Netherlands who does NF3s. So they basically use the blockchain to prove on the sustainability aspect that those trees you have planted, because they are being chipped, that they still exist and they are constantly being updated. Because the whole sustainability sector in travel is usually, if you talk to a travel company, it's always in the top 3 strategic missions of that company. But honestly speaking, there's a lot of greenwashing, because today they don't have the means to really prove that they are compensating, or what happens with the money you basically paid to offset your flight CO2 emission, right? So you have to trust those companies that they really do what they say. And using blockchain, you as a customer or as a consumer can really then see by yourself what's happening with that money.
If someone wanted to participate on the technical side as well of the Camino network, could they participate as a validator? If so, how could they go about doing that? As an individual or as an organization that they really want to contribute?
So to become a validator, you need to be voted into the consortium. Usually you need to be from the travel industry, a company, or you need to have some ties to the travel industry, meaning you need to provide services to the travel industry. But every individual can develop on Camino. We also have a grant program. So the Camino Network Foundation offers very simple application form. So you can input your idea, you will get a call to pitch your idea, and then you will be assigned a grant on milestone basis. On the messenger side, there it's a possibility for everybody to participate and to run not a validator, we call it a messenger server that passes on all those booking messages. And there you could also get incentivized. So our validators are being incentivized, but compared to the miners, let's say in Bitcoin miner, Ethereum miner, it's very, very low. The reason behind that was also we wanted to have, like a group of like-minded validators who their main interest is not getting high transaction fees, but having low transaction fees. And by providing the infrastructure, they're part of the network and also owner of the network. So Camino is open for everybody, but depending on what you want to do, it's a little bit restricted, especially on the validator side.
And then what does your guys' roadmap kind of look like going into 2025? Anything you want to introduce to the Camino network that maybe you guys are working on behind the scenes? And you mentioned like cruises being like something that's going to be important in 2025 as well for expansion. Like anything kind of similar to that, or things that other companies, potential partners, even individuals may be wanting to tap into it, that they could expect in the new year from you guys?
So on the one hand side, currently we are very busy with our listings. Our Camino token will be listed. Plan is to list it in Q4 still, so that keeps us on our toes at the moment. For next year, what we have envisioned is on the one hand side global expansion. So we are currently strengthening our collaboration with the MENA region, so Middle East and North Africa, and also Asia. So we definitely want this to become a global project on the one side. Different verticals, as you mentioned, so cruise industry, car rental industry, We are also working with different ID providers. So this week we will also do an announcement about new partnerships in that space. We are also part of the EU ID wallet consortium, so basically driving digital identities for European forward, because we really believe this will completely change the way people travel, go through airports, walk on. And on the product side, I mean, we still are further developing the messenger. That's definitely a huge task on our list, with new kind of services, new kind of products that will be in there. Currently, we're working on sustainability, but also on a lot of ancillary services like eSIM providers, excursions, and stuff like that. And we also envision to build a new product on top of the connectivity. Because, I mean, what have we built so far? So we have the blockchain on the one hand side. We have built the ecosystem of more than 200 travel companies. Roughly half of them are validators. 50% of them are now working as well on different use cases on the chain. We have built the community, the messenger, which is the connectivity layer, and now more and more applications are being developed. And for us, it was like, okay, how do we visualize those applications? Because sometimes I struggle sometimes with some blockchains where they say, hey, we have thousands of apps, thousands of developers, but you never know where do you see those apps. And our first initial idea was actually to build something similar like to an Android shop or a iOS store where you see all those applications running. But then we shied a little bit away from that because we saw that there is a huge potential actually we could deliver to the travel industry by building actually what we call a composable framework app, which works similar to WeChat. You most probably all have heard about WeChat. WeChat is an incredible app, mainly used in Asia, China, where basically with one app you have access to a whole ecosystem of apps, and it's all running on the same technology stack. And this is something we are going to do to develop for travel companies, because if our thesis is right, that digital wallets are coming, digital IDs are coming, digital money is coming, this means that actually 95% of the travel companies need to touch all their front ends and applications, right? So that's why, then again, as we are have more this ecosystem thinking, why do we need to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again in our industry? Why not provide something to the ecosystem, which then the ecosystem can also feed into that? So give you an example. If you are Lufthansa in future and you would white label our application, you would have your services as today, but each time a new interesting provider is in the ecosystem built on the same technology stack, you could easily connect to them. So let's assume Uber joins, then you can also offer for your customers Uber services within your app, right? Without having to integrate that. And the beauty is the blockchain takes over the commission part, the payment part, so it's fully integrated into this ecosystem. This is something we are currently working on the concept, and definitely keen to deliver an MVP there next year as well.
Are there any jurisdictional hurdles that you guys have had to go through with kind of doing this stuff globally with different travel partners in different areas? I imagine some of those things probably crop up.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no global standard when it comes to token handling. Blockchain is looked at different kind of stages. So one of the reasons why we set up the company in Switzerland was that in Switzerland since 2018 we had a really clear global legal framework, better said, no, global legal framework when it comes to DLT, so distribution ledger technology, but also for the foundation and selling tokens. So that was clear. Now Europe has a good framework as well. The US, we still shied a little bit away from the US because it was not very clear in which direction the SEC wanted to go, were going. I mean, especially in the Web3 space, a lot of people were talking about the war of the SEC against crypto, and crypto was also very politically instrumentalized during the last election, as we saw. So we expect actually that that should be normalizing step by step. But we see regulations coming. We actually cherish regulation because as we are more in the B2B space, it gives also security to all those established partners, right? One of the reasons why we built our own chain was exactly that, trust, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, still not trust into Web3 because in the mind of the people still is, oh, blockchain, that equals crypto, that equals scam or pump fund or meme coins. So they don't see the technological value behind that and how it can be used to improve the customer journey, for instance, or the margins of those companies, right?
Absolutely. What's it like running a Web3 network and startup in Switzerland? I imagine it's a very regulatory friendly environment. I've heard really good things about it. Any benefit to encouraging other founders and startups to maybe consider Switzerland? Like, is it a really good place to get going?
Yes, and I mean a lot of international well-known companies or foundations like Ethereum Foundation, Polygon, Tezos, Cardano, they're all in Switzerland as well. So we are based in Zug, which is the so-called Swiss Crypto Valley, they call itself. More than 1,200 crypto-related companies are established there. It's a good network. You will find here everything you need from attorneys, tax specialists to set up a company in Switzerland is also very, very easy. It's not the cheapest place, honestly, to set up a company. But it is very well recognized as well by investors. So sometimes I think having an address or a headquarter in Switzerland brings more value, especially down the road when you're looking for investors and how established the company is. But yes, at the end, it's super easy. And it also has some tax benefits, honestly speaking.
Where can people learn more about Camino Network? Website, socials, any docs potentially for developers or those getting into validators, information there? And then do you guys have community on Discord or Telegram? Where do you want to send people?
So I think the easiest way to engage with us is on Telegram. We also have Discord. We have other socials as well, but Telegram is our largest community apart from Discord. We have, of course, two websites. One is chainfortravel.com. The other is Camino.network, where you can find all the information also about grant program, documentation for developers. And what I would really recommend is have a look at our YouTube channel. There's a YouTube channel under Chain for Travel, where you also will see a lot of videos from supplier talking, presenting. We have an annual event every year in Mallorca. We gather actually our ecosystem. Last time it was 250 travel companies, more or less, and more than 20 keynote speakers. For instance, Lufthansa was presenting their cases. So it's kind of interesting to let them talk. And this is actually our ultimate goal, that not we talk about how cool our technology is, but our partners talk, because if you hear it from the horse's mouth, I think that's much more valuable. And those are the lighthouses we actually need going on, right?
Definitely. Pablo, this has been a fantastic episode. The travel industry is wrought with tons of issues, and I'm very excited to see how Web3 in general can help elevate it and fix some of those problems, especially you guys with Camino Network. So awesome seeing what you guys are doing and working on, and best of luck here in 2025 going forward. And keep me up to date. We'll do a part 2 in the next year, and we can cover some new things you guys are working on. So appreciate it, man.
Looking very much forward to that. And thanks for having us again.